Welcome to the Dr. Dad's podcast, where a naturopath and chiropractor come together each week to share lifestyle medicine, health advice, and inspiring interviews with some of the top experts in health and wellness, bringing you the latest in nutrition, exercise, ancient healing, toxins and detox, your microbiome, mindset, hormones, brain, and much more. Stay tuned. We're going to teach you how to experience growth daily.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Wardy and I'm here with Dr. Jensen and we are the Dr. Dads, and we finally get to connect with one another. We didn't bring a guest on today, but I'm excited to talk to my brother here because we're going to kind of dial back in and talk about our top 5 episodes that we've had. And Nick, this is exciting, man.
I know.
I feel like we don't get to talk that much because...
What's funny, like it's been... Yeah, we've had so many amazing guests on, and we get, if any of you are avid podcast listeners, or maybe you've got one yourself, you just get really inspired by the people you're connecting with, and we get excited because we're learning a ton from the guests that we have, and we keep saying, it's time to do one where we just recap and just touch base and expand on what we're already learning on. So it's fun to be able to do this.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So we're going to dial in, and I want to talk about our top 5 episodes. So we're 25 episodes in. We've been banging them out since the end of last year. But we've had 5 episodes that have had a lot of downloads. People have really enjoyed. I've actually had patients tell me how much they've enjoyed a couple of these. And then I've actually just walked into people on the street, man, that say, hey, you're Dr. Wardy. I listen to your podcast. So kind of pretty cool, man. And then we're being listened to in, I think, over 21 countries. So there's a lot of traction here, man. Mm-hmm. So number 1, so our best episode so far was Beware of Kryptonite-Toxins and Detox.
Mm-hmm. Such an important one, right? So for those of you who tuned into that one, or maybe you didn't, the message here really is that we live in a different world, right? We live in a different world than humans have ever lived in. We are bombarded by toxicity in our environment, from plastics to pesticides to heavy metals and the neurotoxin associations with that, to our water supply, to EMFs, to a whole host of so many things. And on top of that, we've got more chronic ongoing stressors, right? Like the emotional stressors, et cetera, et cetera. We've got more resistant infections showing up, that MRSAs and different things from the chronic use of antibiotics and antibacterial soaps and you name it. So it's not a big surprise that this is such an important topic and one that so many people tuned into, because it's affecting all of us, wouldn't you say?
Well, and we're being bombarded, like you said, and it's no joke. I think a lot of people, I hear this whole I don't want to know kind of deal. And this is something that you really need to know and create awareness and educate yourself on, because like Dr. Nick's saying, this is what's really happening. And if you don't have the tools and understand that there's processes out there for you to help detox your body, and that this is an aspect of your health that you actually need to nurture as you go through life to have a form of longevity and quality of your life, because it is playing a big impact in how you feel on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so why don't we dive into just a little bit about what's happening on that cellular level, because people understand sort of, some idea of detox, the 10-day cleanse, the master cleanse, the juice cleanse, all this kind of stuff, which we have now come to realize is just it's a great marketing tool, but it's not necessarily a deep healing process. But this really comes down to cellular health, right?
Well, and you're talking about the engines of the body, right? This is where all the magic's happening. And if you're trying to get a shift in your health, like you're saying, this is where it has to take place. And when it comes to toxicity, this is where we're being impacted. What people don't understand is, these toxins that we're just basically getting mild doses of every day. The impact that they're having on the cell is massive. I mean, you're getting systemic inflammation all over every living cell, 70 trillion cells. And you talk about from hormone disruption to energy issues to metabolic problems. I mean, I can keep going on and on. And then the effects, the symptoms from anxiety and sleep issues, and because this can cause chronic pain and weight loss resistance for a lot of people. So these very common things that a lot of individuals are struggling with, you can dial back to toxicity playing a major role in this, and it's like you're saying at the cellular level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things just to recap for people is that where does toxicity move into, right? It moves into fat. So we've got our fatty cell membranes, which turns on that cellular inflammation, which turns on cellular and hormonal communication issues, leading to weight loss resistance, all the things that you just mentioned. And then essentially we've got another layer of fat, which is our visceral fat. That's the fat surrounding your organs. So you see this with alcoholic fatty liver disease, and now the emerging illness that so many people are dealing with but don't realize is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, driven from glycotoxicity and all these other toxins we're speaking to. So that's another layer of fat, and then above that is your subcutaneous fat. It's that sort of mesh fat that sits below the subcutaneous tissues of the skin of the body and insulates everything, but it expands. And the unfortunate thing with that subcutaneous fat and the visceral fat is it becomes an endocrine-producing gland. Literally, like your fat tissue turns into a hormone disrupting machine. So we're getting blasted with toxicity environmentally, and then our own endogenous fat production becomes another damaging point for our hormonal system. And at the end of the day, what sits on top of our head is our brain. It's the master computer, the controlling mechanism of the entire body, most important fat in your body. And once you start to lodge toxicity inside the brain, neurodysfunction happens, hormonal dysfunction, cognition issues, depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's, dementia. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we're painting sort of a scary picture, but unfortunately, it's just one that all of us are dealing with, and it's time to turn the light on it.
Well, it's time to be real. Like you said, there's not really effective things known to many individuals that help us detox, and we have to get upstream to the cell. We got to get to the brain, and we have to be on another layer in the body to get this detoxing done. So these cleanses, like Nick's saying, the master cleanse, these juice cleanses, these are downstream. They're not gonna make it happen. You have to use a good system. And so one of the systems that I use and Dr. Nick uses and we're big fans of, because I have over a decade experience trying to effectively detox people, and honestly, like, nothing was really working, brother. Like, it was kind of like just like you get all excited, you find a new protocol, you implement it, and then do. Like, there's no change in the person. But true cellular detox has not only changed my life and my wife's life, which we'll talk about another one of our top episodes, but it's changing thousands of my patients' lives because they're learning how effective it is and why it's needed and why they have to live a lifestyle that supports this and constantly be doing this process moving forward for longevity and quality, and really for some people to regain their health back.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about just earlier in this episode, it's not enough anymore to just exercise, eat the right food. You're golden. You're like that's your prevention plan for the rest of your life. It's just not enough anymore, unfortunately. And I hate saying that as a naturopathic physician, for you as a chiropractor in this alternative, prevention health field. We've just come to see too many people not get better with just that alone, and so it's an unfortunate situation that we're all in, but we also have an opportunity to rise to this situation and utilize this tool as what you're referring to, the True Cellular Detox program, because it's a system that actually helps to regenerate cellular health, regenerate tissue healing, and really turns on that upstream mechanism to clear underlying cause for illness. So it's a powerful tool.
And like you're saying, one of the things that I love about TCD is that we take a multi-therapeutic approach during this process, and we teach that. So, just like your car, everyone, you need an oil change for that car to keep running that engine well. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems. This is very similar for the body. You have to do real good cellular detox to actually get an effective change in the body to where you're going to see that change in how your engine runs and how that system works. And we're talking about the brain, like Nick's saying, in that master system. And then, those cell membranes of your cells, those are the brains of your cells. So like I tell everybody, you're treating the brains of your body, and that's why it's important. So let's jump on. Do you want to talk anything else about that one, brother?
No, I think that's good. I mean, the key points there for people is you got to go upstream, get to the root cause of the problem. You got to look at toxicity, infection. You got to look at the emotional traumas that we're all facing. And that's when you're going upstream. These 10-day cleanses, juice cleanses, things like that are all working on possibly improving a little bit of, or taking some of the stressors off digestive system and whatnot. But that's what we call downstream detox. So we have to differentiate these things, and you have to use appropriate tools to safely, effectively pull these toxins and whatnot out of the body. So let's move on to the second one.
So number 2 was episode number 19. It was Fit to Fat to Fit to Complete Keto with Mr. Drew Manning. Yeah, and I like this guy, man. This guy, we got to meet Drew at one of our conferences. We hit it off with him really well. Just a really down to earth, solid human being, and that was a really fun episode. I think we got into a lot of mindset stuff on that one.
Yeah. So he wrote the book called The Complete Keto, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So his new book, awesome book, by the way. I use a lot of the recipes that he has in there. So easy to implement, to get into fat adaptation and start implementing a system, and it's so holistic in the way that he brought it forward with the education in that book that I really highly recommend it to anybody who's listening. Like, go out and check that book out. If you haven't been successful with keto, be something to check out. Even if you just live a lifestyle where you're in and out of keto, awesome book to have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think one of the big messages that he was delivering so effectively, as you said, was that mindset piece. When we're, we all have to sink into an intention, a reason for why we want to get better. Maybe we want to spend more time playing with our kids. Maybe we have a goal of longevity and preventing an illness. Maybe we've got a goal of losing weight and feeling more vital or strengthening our immune system. I loved how he really locked down that mindset piece, and to start to understand a more healthy relationship with body image, and clearing proper intention so that we can get clear on expectations for ourselves. And he does do a good job of highlighting that in every conversation that he has. I mean, really, that's his message, is really more about coming from a healthy mindset perspective, and he highlights that in his book in a big way.
Well, and he's lived it. I mean, what a great example of this lesson this guy learned from. If you guys don't know Drew's story, he basically was a super fit, he's a personal trainer, a super fit individual, had tons of clients, would always put them on diet plans and trying to help them lose weight and exercise regimens. And some of these people would struggle trying to eat right and do what they needed to do. So one of his clients one day said, "Hey, well, you don't know what it's like. They're like, I've been overweight my whole life, and you're fit, you've had this." And so he decided to put on, it was 65 pounds, right, Nick?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so he decided to gain 65 pounds in 6 months, and then he was going to lose the 65 pounds and get back to fit again within 6 months. And this guy literally did it. And he ate a typical American diet to gain the weight. Your cereals and, what do you say?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, you said. He used to slam that every day. Hot dogs and macaroni and cheese. He had people emailing him, telling him stuff they ate. And he just ate it all. And he got some, he made some appearances. He was on Dr. Oz, a couple of
Jay Leno, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jay Leno as well. So this was a pretty big deal, a pretty big thing he was doing. And then once he hit 65 pounds, he shot all the weight off and he got fit again. And the big thing that he said he learned from this process is, as his body was changing, so was his mind. Mm-hmm. So was his ability to handle stress, his stress resiliency, his emotional health. As his hormones were changing from that body change, his mind changed. And he talked about how hard it was after he had gained all that weight to lose the weight, to get back in gear. Just those first 2 weeks was so difficult, he said, because of the mental, just like mental anguish almost, right? That he had to go through to fight through that process to make his way back.
Totally. And that recovery back to what was normal for him previously was really, I think that's where the victory was. It's one thing to, he said it's pretty easy eating, getting to that overweight point, despite that it was like fatiguing him and difficulty playing with kids. So I mean, there was definitely some challenges there, but I don't think he really realized what it was like for people until he tried to lose the weight, and that was a beautiful part of the story, because it speaks to how many people give up after 3 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks even? For those of you who may be overweight and have been for maybe a couple decades, that 2 week stretch that he really was challenged by would probably be, a month, 2 months or longer for you. And the message really is consistency and staying true to the direction that you want to go, and being okay with the little victories that show up along the way. I say this all the time, that health is not a straight line, and healing is not a straight line. There's dips and valleys and curves and turns and obstacles all along the way, and it's not uncommon for us all, and whatever your health journey is, to hit those bumps. It's just, are you going to be clear in your intention as you continue forward, as you overcome those obstacles? And that was something that I think really highlighted for him in his experience. So it was a powerful story for sure.
Well, and a beautiful message, and well deserved to give it. I couldn't think of anybody better. I mean, he's experienced it, and he's just a good guy. So if you guys haven't heard that episode, you need to check it out. Definitely one of my faves, and I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, because I've heard patients say this just before we finish off, he felt really embarrassed about being overweight. Right, like he wanted to prove to people that he used to look good. Like, I mean, look fantastic, right? He used to want to pull out pictures of himself and say, "No, this is actually me in this picture." And I've had patients do that, and I get that struggle, right? And I haven't necessarily been to that extreme of 65 pounds overweight, but I've definitely been out of shape when my kids came around, and I remember looking in the mirror going like, "Geez, Nick, you don't look nearly as good as that you should or could or used to." And that was uncomfortable for me. But 65 pounds later for him, I mean, it's a whole nother experience. I may have been 10, 15 pounds overweight, not 3 times that.
I had my period of life as well where I was a little heavy, and the one thing I can say is, it is not easy getting back to where you want to be, but you can't make that part of what your identity is. He said he was always fit his whole life. That was the first time he was overweight. So when people would look at him, remember he told us the story, he's like, "Oh no, I'm fit. I'm just doing this thing." And I think for the opposing side, people that maybe have been a little overweight or overweight their whole life, thinking, "Well, that's not possible for me." It is possible for you.
Yeah.
So don't identify and think, "Well, this has always been me. This is me." That's there for you, and there are massive health benefits of you getting your weight down and being at a better managing weight and body fat percentage and all that stuff. So just understand, like Nick's saying, is it's consistency and pushing through that resistance. If it's hard, you're in the right direction.
Yeah.
So just keep pushing, because it'll get easier. But you've got to pound through that first 10 inches of steel that you put up over those decades, and then once you pop through, you'll get there.
Totally. One little quote that sort of highlights that understanding is that complaining sees your your complaining sees your circumstances greater than your identity, or you can insert destiny there. So if we see that we're making our complaints bigger and all of our personality, we haven't really tapped into what's actually possible for us, and so we can get stuck, and it happens to all of us.
Well, and if you're complaining, you're already living in reaction mode, so get into creation mode.
Love it. Okay, moving on. Go ahead.
Number three, optimal health paradigm. Was this optimal health paradigm and the modern man? So this was episode number 1.
Cool.
And this is number 3, so I'm kind of excited about this one. So this is actually a big one for us, because this is where we kind of established what we're all about, and we wanted to start with, hey, here's the paradigm of what we believe in. If this resonates with you, then listen to our show and give it a listen and hear who we bring on and what we're all about. But the thing I loved about this one was we got into a really deep conversation of how paradigm affects your health.
Yeah, that was a powerful talk, and I loved how you tied in. We both tied in just sort of a direction for where we wanted to see this podcast go, and then also just the evolution of what it's become, just even after 25 episodes. But we dove into our intention. We dove into the realization that the healing is so much more than just this physical aspect, and we really wanted to hit home the point of what does it mean to be your your true identity, this modern man of tough and roll up your sleeves and fight through it, or are you going to open up to this other aspect where we start to become more inquisitive and creative and have this inner life that we can start to support and nurture? And I know you had some really good discussion around what was it, extrinsic, or what did you say on that point?
Well, we really we remember we talked about just the fact that you either believe that your body is self-healing, self-maintaining, self-regulating, can regenerate, and we can move through life and create health, or you believe that we just slowly degenerate as we go through this process of life, and we just patch the system and have to kind of repair it and just keep it moving along the way. Yeah. And in all honesty, we talk about the fact that it takes work every day of working on your health and constantly making that a constant in your life, and that's how this pays off for this longevity aspect, or like I like for you to say, legacy, because if you don't have your health and then you get it, then you're trying to create legacy because you're trying to pass good health on to future generations, and I think that's really important in this day and age, because we're literally in a process of de-evolution if we don't start changing things, and that starts with us.
Yeah, that's significant. And I can't remember if it was this one. I'm trying to think of, like you said, implicit or extrinsic. You were talking about a paradigm of operating, and maybe that was in a different podcast. But I thought it was so important because we get so stuck in thinking things are the way they are based on our previous experiences.
Oh, yes.
Right?
So I was talking about absolute truths and relative truths.
Oh, there it is.
And then we talked about rules from, this was all Vishkin Lakiani, the Mind Valley stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was saying, I was listening to a podcast the other day on Guru Singh, and he was saying the same thing, that whole story about the loaf of bread, and they cut the ends off. And they're like, why'd you cut the loaf off? And they're like, oh, because I had to fit it in the pan. And that passed for generations. Yeah. So same thing, for our listeners, how many of you guys have questioned some of these beliefs that you adopted, because of your family or friends or culture? And is it having a positive or a negative effect on your life? About 3-4 years ago, Nick, I had to dial back in and start questioning a lot of things in my life of what I learned growing up and what I was taught, and realize that a lot of things didn't apply anymore in this day and age to what I was taught. And then a lot of things were affecting me in negative manners, so I had to change those belief systems. And when I did, it was very transformative for me. And it really does change multiple aspects of your overall health. It's your mental health, your physical health, emotional health, biochemical health. This goes across the whole spectrum of stressors if you don't work on your beliefs, because your beliefs will affect the stress in your life.
Yeah, it's true. And how many of us can look back on our life and realize that we were stuck in a pattern for a period of time. And it's like when the lights finally turn on, this is the thing, we can change in a moment. And so when those lights turn on, you start to course correct immediately, because you realize that old paradigm of thinking is just no longer serving you. One of the things that I really appreciate about the teachings of JoeDispenza, who, if you don't know him, he's one of the masters of bringing science and spirituality together to help us understand that we are just creatures of our personality. What is your personality? It's your habits, your feelings, and your thoughts. And that's what plays out on a regular basis, but it's always being reaffirmed by everything that happened in the past. And so what he teaches a lot of is, how do you create new identity by creating the feeling, the sensation of what is possible for us, as opposed to what's always happened to us. And when we start to change that paradigm and sit in meditation, take some space in our day to create that reality or that version of our personality that we have yet to develop, and spend some time there and put that energy, that feeling, that starts to turn into action in our life. And we're going to talk later on the power of using Kundalini Yoga as one of those tools for that action or personality shift to take space. But that's really it. It's like we move out of that Brule point of view. We move out of that old paradigm into a reality of this modern man. And even the evolution of our podcast has allowed us to realize that this isn't just about men. It's about human. How do you bring that light body, that hue, that color of change and possibility into this physical experience? And And that's I think that's everybody's journey. You know, it's going to be a little different or unique for everybody, but that's essentially what we're all here to do.
Brother, I'm hearing mastery. it must be the beard, because I tell you, yeah, buddy, that was beautiful. Absolutely, man.
Right back at you.
I'm right, and that's fun. That's the fun part. We talked about this growth and the shift and what the podcast has been about, and we found out that a lot of women enjoy listening to our podcast, and we were typically going to just start, targeting the male demographic, but we are open to both sexes now for all topics, and we actually have some good guests coming on for you guys here in the next month or so. So you guys will really enjoy some of the women we're bringing on to talk about some really, really important topics, right?
Yeah. And speaking of women, that's next on the list.
Yes. So number 4 is this beautiful woman. I can't talk well enough about her, but this was episode number 20, an autoimmune answer. And this was a podcast that we did with my wife, Clarissa Wardy, and we talked about her journey with autoimmune. And we got into some pretty heavy conversation of really, not just the physical journey that she had to deal with her health and talking about, what things we utilized to try to help with her healing, but really the emotional impact that it had and her having to come back from healing that as well. And then we got into what worked, what didn't. We discussed what's helped us actually have big improvements for her, and that was a really powerful episode. I wasn't surprised that one would do well. And what do you think about that, man?
Well, it's funny because I heard pieces of this story and varying different versions, but when someone gets to really spotlight the reality of the situation and seeing you guys here, like, not everyone who's listening into this podcast can see the faces, but when you've got loved ones that are sharing from the depths of their soul about the challenges and just how life nearly ended, and to hear that as a parent and to know that someone was going through that as a parent, as a child, as a daughter, and to see through the eyes of a husband. I mean, it's heart-wrenching, and it's happening every single day, which is the sadness of it all. And to hear the discipline and the courage and the consistency and what it took to move through these different layers of the onion, as we speak to, or the different levels of healing. I mean, it's nothing but humility and a sharing of love for another human going through such challenging times, right? And so I was humbled to hear it and honored to listen in, and no doubt that affected a lot of people as a result, because let's face it, in this world that we live in, we're afraid to move into the pain. We're afraid to hear pain. We try to avoid it. That's our reflex. That reaction is to move away from pain. It's built into our survival instincts. And when we're in pain, we want to run away. When we're feeling that emotional pain, we try to subdue it and pacify it. We do whatever we can to just not feel it. And man, like, you guys brought it. You brought that understanding of just allowing yourself to be in that pain and what that meant for you and your family. So it's nothing but gratitude for you guys for sharing so deeply.
Well, and we were, Clarissa was a little hesitant to jump on, but, it was really neat to see what happened after that episode. There were so many people in our town and our patients that approached. They're like, "Oh, I had no idea," and they talked to her about it. And we've had a lot of people come forward that know that she had that have come to us for help. So, the big purpose of us doing that episode was my life's purpose has shifted since my wife got sick, and now what me and Clarissa have dedicated ourselves to is helping other individuals that have gone through the struggles that she's gone through and give them effective answers that actually work, because we know they worked for us. And that's not saying they're going to work for everybody, but the things that we're good at, we're good at because I had to go through it with my wife. And we're able to pass some of these tools and these answers to other people that are going through the struggle like she did. Mm-hmm. And we're able to help them, find their way back to health.
Yeah, and I mean, a theme of this came through earlier when we were talking about, weight gain and getting stuck there. The impact on the partner. You showed me a picture of yourself when Clarissa was going through this, man. Like, people listening in, you would not recognize the photo that you showed me. I mean, this is literally a different human being. You packed on the toxicity, the stress, the weight, the the hormone resistance, no doubt you were on your way to autoimmunity because you were taking so much of the burden of your partner in this life or death situation that Clarissa was going through. I mean, it's just goes to show when you've got someone that you absolutely adore and care about, would do anything for, it's affecting you, and it affected you in a big way.
When I remember telling Clarissa, I know I'm not physically going through what you have going on. I was like, but I feel the stress of it. Yeah. And you could see it in that picture, man. I couldn't believe that. When I saw that picture, I was like, no way.
Yeah, it was like he got stuck by 50 bees.
Oh, yeah. I did. And like Nick's saying, that was emotional stress that did that to me. It jacked me up. I was pretty screwed up, man. And I've had to find my way back, just like Clarissa has, from being in that state of health, and find my emotional healing and through this whole thing, and also physically, man. So it's definitely a real thing. And for any of you who maybe this is happening to you, you have loved ones, they're experiencing this, please give that episode a listen, because there's some really good stuff and conversations on there, and some answers for you, some nuggets in there. And maybe some perspective to help you on your journey and what you're going through right now with you or your loved one.
And you know what? If you listen to that one and that tugs at your heartstrings, make sure to listen to the other. What's the other one when your friend came on? I'm blanking.
Oh, the other one.
The true story of
the true story of the struggle within. Yeah, with Anthony Randall.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll get that journey as well. Yeah.
So that's a good one. That's not in the top 5, but let me give you guys that episode number. So that was the true story of the struggle within. That was episode 18. And we talked to a guy that wrote a book. His name is Anthony Randall, and he talks about his wife's struggle with cancer and how she beat it. But he talks a lot about the emotional side as well, of what kind of impact it has on the partner. So another good listen as well.
Yeah, it just sort of ties, like it was a good tie-in to the one that you guys shared.
Oh yeah.
All right,
so let's hit number 5. Yeah. So number 5, episode number 22, is Keto Camp with Mr. Ben Azadi. This guy's a rock star, man.
It's all heart, man. He's like a heart, big, tall, skinny heart with legs.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a perfect way to describe that guy. So Ben has an amazing story of where his purpose comes from and why he's just like, this guy's killing it, man. Like he's impacting thousands daily, and he's on this like freight train, the speed at which this guy's moving right now, because like Nick's saying, I mean, this guy has a heart with skinny legs, and it's all skinny. Man,
apparently he didn't used to be skinny, which is the ironic piece of it. He went through a healing journey as well that he shared so deeply and passionately. But yeah, he's now this like skinny dude with big heart and legs and arms, and that's it.
And the impact, man, he brings with his message all the time, and he's affecting thousands of people already. So Ben runs a thing called Keto Camp. You guys can check him out on Facebook. That's, I think, or YouTube. He's also big on YouTube right now. And his big story is his dad had some health issues, and he watched his health growing up, and wanted to make a change. Realized that people needed to know. Needed to get this information of how to get healthy and what's really going on, and understanding their bodies and creating awareness, and so he's on this huge mission to change 1 million lives, right?
Yeah.
And so he's helping people right now, and he's teaching them all about ketosis and getting fat adapted, and the importance of doing that, right?
Yeah. And one of the stories that I love that I'm starting to use now that he shares, that just kind of, I don't know why I wasn't thinking this before, but he was referring to babies. When kids are just growing up and they're just nursing, they're in a state of ketosis. The majority of that macronutrient from breast milk is healthy fats, and it's to build the brain and everything else. And so ketosis is a natural state. It's something that, as soon as you say ketosis to a group of people who don't really know much about it but are afraid of ketosis, they think of diabetic ketoacidosis. Oh no, right, run for the hills. How dare you do that to your body? You're going to die. And that definitely could be a reality for someone with type 1 diabetes, but for the rest of the population, this is a natural state that can be invoked and encouraged for longevity, healing, and reducing inflammation. And I mean, you name it. It's a powerful tool. I'm guessing you're in probably ketosis right now, David, as we speak. I mean, so like the brain lights up when ketones are firing, right?
24/7. For me, I was an athlete growing up, and I was that carb junkie athlete.
Yeah.
And so ketosis and being fat adapted and having metabolic flexibility has completely changed my life, like in so many ways, in my recovery, in my energy levels, and my brain health, and my processing, my memory, just my mood. I mean, you look at so many benefits of, like you're saying, being in this natural state. I love it because it is our natural state. So if you're not in it, you're not in health. And so you talk about having to use all these different strategies. We talk about fasting, something we both do on a daily basis that we've implemented that's had massive changes for us and the people we teach. I mean, you go into eating the right macros, right, and finding these healthy fats and understanding carbohydrates and knowing how to cycle these. And then, I mean, just these basic principles that as human beings, we're not taught. And we need to be educated on these things. So if you haven't gone out there to create awareness and do that, you need to do that, whether you get online and find resources or books, or you find somebody like you and me, Nick, to go in that can just give you one-on-one, like, hey, this is how you do it. So you get it right from one of the experts. But point in case is like, this is you, and if you're not in that natural state, then you need to work on getting there.
Yeah, and so both David and I run programs called STEMnomic Solutions. And how many times you've run this program? What, 2-3 times already?
Yeah, I just wrapped up another class. Everyone got fat adapted. Everyone did the 5-day water fast, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So this is a journey that are you starting to offer it online now too?
We're going to on the next one. Okay,
cool. So we're launching ours on September 16th. The next online version of this, of STEMnomic Solution, and if you haven't learned this process, or you're afraid, you need to be in community, reach out to us. Go to the Dr. Dad's Facebook page, find out when the next event is happening, and sign up. This is something that everybody needs to do. Everybody needs to invoke inside their system, and the more people that learn this process, the more we're going to move into prevention. I mean, I'm starting to tell people now, just because of the power of the research, is that if you're not invoking this state for at least, that 5-day window, at least twice a year, you're not doing enough to prevent cancer and autoimmunity and all the other serious illnesses that are unfortunately not improving. Like in our modern world, you would think that we'd be able to make a dent in some of these illnesses with some of the therapies that we have, but we're not. It's like the masses are moving towards greater and greater dysfunction. So this is a tool that we all need.
Well, and like you're saying, it's autophagy. So for people that, just to give a little bit more info, this is what you need to invoke twice a year. You have to put your body in autophagy. This is just self-eating. This is self-repair. You're cleaning up the backup and the junk that your body's basically piling up with because of, like we're saying, the modern times that we live in, and the struggle is real. Yeah. So this is a process. It's a tool that gives you longevity, that helps you get regeneration in your body, massive stem cell boost. There's all these huge benefits. And the beautiful part about it is if you've struggled with trying to get into ketosis or get a shift in your metabolism, I highly recommend you sign up for one of these classes, because I have all these individuals. That's the best part for me, Nick, is these people that have struggled, I get them all into fat adaptation.
Yeah.
And then finally they have faith that, oh, there's a hope, like I can do this. This is the way to do it, because they've struggled and haven't been successul. Totally. And they have that community around them. They're getting that weekly class, and they're just banging through the weeks. And then before you know it, they're like, hey, I'm losing weight, or, I'm getting that fat adaptation, and they're seeing the changes. So then you get that hope going in them.
Yeah. So let's make sure that on the next, anytime we do a STEMnomic class, we'll post it onto the Dr. Dad's Facebook page just to let people know.
Absolutely.
And then on that note, I just wanted to say too is that when we're starting, it's not just about constant daily ketosis either, right? It's using this tool of flexibility. So it's not that you need to be in ketosis for the rest of your life, but the profound thing is, I don't know how many people that go through your program that go like, shoot, but I lost 10 pounds. I know I'm going to get it back again. And they're almost fearful of the fact that this actually happened, and like what my God, what would happen if it didn't last? And I love seeing that look on their face. You know, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, 3 months goes by, and I ask them, hey, how you doing with that? The worry about the weight loss, you know, well, it's still gone. And you see the fear levels, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see the fear levels that start to decrease because there's so much fear around what if it comes back.
Well, and let's really quick, this is, I think, a good time to talk about where is that fear coming from. And one of the big places, I promise you, that's coming from is this whole, like, 6 meals a day movement that took place probably over a decade ago, where people would do this, they'd speed up their metabolism, they'd lose about 20, 30 pounds, they'd be feeling good, and then it would just slam right back on. Yeah. Because that's not the proper way to lose weight, by ramping up your metabolism like that. That was really bad conventional wisdom that was circulated into our country about a decade ago. Totally. So what we're speaking to with ketosis and this stemnomic lifestyle solution is understanding that your body is built to go into fat adaptation, and this is the only way to properly lose weight and keep it off. Mm-hmm. I mean, even hormonally, you're getting changes that you can't get any other way because the body is built this way to lose weight. So if you want to do it right, like we're saying, it's all about ketosis. Implement some fasting into your lifestyle, and just start making strides towards that way. And brother, I think this is a good segue into talking about Men's Camp, because we did a partial fast while we were there, and we got some nice autophagy and some stem cells going, and a lot of emotional breakthroughs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a powerful week. So just to give you a little background, I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher. I have been since 2012. I've been chatting with my dear friend Dr. David Wardy since I've known him. You know, little nuggets here and there about men's camp or yoga, and he went to a few of my amazing wife Dr. Sonia's classes at the different retreats or different conferences that we go to. And he had a couple of breakthroughs at some of those classes. Some tears were rolling, and not just for him, for myself, for some of the other men that were in the group and women. And he started to get curious, you know, because something happens when something triggers at your soul like that. You know, you have these like spontaneous little emotional healing events that show up. And so curiosity was there, and he took a chance and came to these men's camps that are held once a year in Vancouver or around the Vancouver area. I think I've gone to 5 or 6 or 7, somewhere around there. I missed a couple of years in the middle. And each year is more profound than the previous. But I tell you what, like David, when he went, he just jumped right in. He did all the kriyas, did all the yoga, did all the meditation. And you were tuning into some pretty cool things. And, you know, we talked about the instrument. So I want you to sort of dive into your experience and sort of like what the outside perspective was looking in, and then tell me about the instrument, because I see you as a true healer, someone who uses their body as a tool to help people heal through that vibrational tone and mindset and everything else. And we want to hear what you tapped into there.
So first I want to start with saying I felt really dumb after camp that like it took me so hard to give you a yes for that, but like I had no idea what I was getting myself into, so it was completely normal. So there was some resistance. Nick literally, I think for about 2 years, just kept kind of giving me these little nuggets, sending me little emails, and finally about, I think it was like 3 weeks before, I hadn't made up my mind, and I finally said, I'm going to do this. And like he's saying, it's because I had some profound experiences with being in one of his wife's classes a couple times, and then just speaking with Nick and understanding things about my body. So I went on faith, and buddy, one of the best things I've done for myself in my entire life. Like, I want people to understand, like, this is a life-changing thing. It is a men's camp. There's a women's camp too, but if you're looking for something to cause a shift, to help you grow, this is where you do it. I mean, that was a very profound week of life that I will cherish forever, and I'm looking forward to doing again next year. It's done, buddy. Like, as soon as the dates are out, it's booked. So I engulfed myself, like Nick's saying. I mean, what is it? 5 straight days of workshops, Kundalini yoga, meditation. We ate delicious vegetarian and vegan food all week. Me and Nick actually did a partial fast, so we only ate dinner every day. So we we were getting on another level, I think,
Mm-hmm.
that other people weren't experiencing because they were eating all day. So we talk about this instrument. So one of the things I love about what I do is that our bodies are just brilliance. And I see brilliance of energy, and I work with energy all day. I do a lot of applied kinesiology. I do something called neurological integration system. So I'm constantly having to tap into somebody else's body using my energy and theirs. And so I understand the fact that we are an instrument. And one of the things that I really understood at the end of that week was what Kundalini Yoga and the nod yoga and the meditation, what all these tools can do to tune your instrument to make you just a better person every day, and what your impact is on everything around you. And so we talk about, the body's kind of like a guitar. Our nervous system's like this guitar with strings. And Kundalini Yoga helps you tune that guitar every day when you have this practice in your life. So imagine 5 straight days of, we probably did 4 or 5 workshops a day where we did multiple kriyas, multiple mantra meditation things, and it was like boot camp on the nervous system. Like, no joke.
Yeah.
Like, me and Nick were crying multiple times throughout the week.
Yeah.
Just emotional breakthroughs. Layers of stuff that I think I've been holding on to for decades of my life were shed. I had insight and huge amounts of breakthroughs emotionally for myself in my life. So on one end of that, I enjoyed all that beautifulness. And then on the other end, it's caused a lot of shifts in my life. But once you understand the power of this technology that it brings, you trust it so well because it's you. You're tapping into you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beautiful part of what it does. It's giving you that space, that time during the day to tap into you. And it's, like you said, it's technology of the body. Your body's an instrument. Tune your instrument. This is how you get it done.
Wow. See, I could listen to you all day. That was
and I could go on, man, but it was amazing. I mean, Vancouver is beautiful, and the setting that we were in at that camp, what a neat place. I mean, just serene, quiet all day, around such awesome men, and it was interesting to see that dynamic when there was no women around. Yeah. After just a day or so, of how men start to act around each other, and that camaraderie and that love for each other and that openness, the conversations we were having with each other about life and our personal stuff, and really being able, I mean, just with you, man, I mean, we had some very deep talks at the end of every day, you, me, and Siri Amrit about that day and what was going on and emotions and a lot of growth, man. A lot of growth.
Yeah.
Very thankful, man. Again, I've probably told you that a million times, but I am forever indebted to you. I mean, that for sure, but just your friendship, man. I mean, it's made such a huge impact in my life.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were just kind of talking about this before we got on the call, and it's just, when you find, because this is the talk about connection, really, right? So when you have people in your life that you can be completely authentic, completely raw, share the good stuff, share the bad stuff, you can get annoyed with one another. Not that I don't think we've actually got annoyed with one another yet, but
still going strong.
Still going strong, but those are the people that you want in your corner, and I think it's a testament to, yes, you have to give yourself retreat, which is time for reflection, time to treat yourself, to open up to that hidden identity that's been in hiding. We talked about the hero mindset, right, with Christina, looking for those unknowns, and they happen when you create connection, and it starts with that internal connection with yourself, and then it vibrates out to the cosmos. And you got to draw, people are listening. There's people in your life, I know that you know this, that you just feel good around, and then there's something there that you just have to investigate further and develop and support those relationships. And there's people in your life that are probably the opposite, that you feel anxious around, that sort of drive you nuts, and yet they've been your friend for so long. It's not about disowning, it's just really about allowing what vibrates. Tiago Prem talked about this. What nourishes you, right? draw more of that into your life. If it's people, draw those people more into your life. If it's food, draw that nourishing quality of the food into your life. If it's movement, draw that movement in. You know, if there's things you love to read, spend more time doing that. Start take stock of that which gives you energy in your day and that which deprives you of that energy and drains you. And I think we can all give ourselves the opportunity for honesty in our lives. I mean, I do this I'm starting to do this in business now, and like I'm realizing that there's things that suck my energy. You know, maybe it's like little tasks, or maybe it's new equipment, or, you know, different ideas. And when you actually are honest with yourself and you go, you know what, that's actually sucking energy from me. Yeah, I can't help but think of that, the Marie Kondo. I don't know if you ever watched that Netflix show where she like teaches people how to tidy up their house, and you hang on to the piece of clothing or, I don't know, picture, whatever it is, and just hold it next to your body and go, does this bring me joy? And if you can have an honest conversation with yourself, which happens in retreat, which happens at camps and these immersion experiences, but if you can also take that practice back home and start to ask yourself these questions, and you had one of those experiences when you came home, man. So,
oh, man.
I don't know if you want to share here or not, but I mean, it's interesting when you actually are honest with yourself, you can let go of things that aren't serving you in your life.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I think it's important. So Nick touched on something I want to speak about, and then I'll talk about that. So you said the importance of taking time for yourself and retreating and getting away so that you can look inwards, which honestly, man, I've never done. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you think about the busyness and the hustle and bustle of life, of what we're in every single day with our families and our careers and, you know, our friends and the bubbles that we live in. I mean, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
So when do you ever take time for just you? And this is, I'm not saying like this was no vacay by any means. This was of like, we were just in full mode of like, hey, let's tap inwards, let's unlock some stuff, let's deal with some things, and let's come out of it on the other side and be a changed person, which I forever am. I mean, like you're saying, Kundalini Yoga, it like changes your DNA. It's amazing. So when I got home, the integration is interesting. You know, you go from these 5-6 days of just being with men, you're doing all this Kundalini work. So just coming back into the hustle and bustle in the life, there can be a little bit of challenges there. But it's just like anything. It's like kind of being on the ocean, and all of a sudden you're having to change directions, and the tides are going to get a little rocky for a while. But they've settled down, and things are starting to normalize again for me. And one of the things is I trust in the practice of what we're doing. So I've continued my practice since I got back. I meditate. I do my kriyas. You know, I've been doing some Nod yoga and some other things, some mantras. And it works. You know, it's helping me be a better me every day. And even though, you know, there was that disruption, it actually brought a lot of things in my life into clarity of what needed to change. So the disruption that was also caused was also by me. I made a lot of decisions when I got home that affected and really ruffled some feathers in my life and other people, but it was things that I realized that I had to do, and I don't think I would have realized those things if I hadn't have spent that week there and taken that time to really look inwards and deal with some things.
Yeah.
So nothing but love, man. And for those of you who are listening, I highly recommend doing something like this. You know, we actually had another episode where we talked about this, and that was what was it? Retreat. Yeah. And so I want to mention this because you have your retreat coming up. Mm-hmm. But we talked about vacationing or retreating, and why not both? And so Dr. Nick and his wife Sonia put on this amazing retreat every year in Baja, Mexico. It's called Naturally Brave, right? Mm-hmm. Retreats. And speak a little bit about that, man, because I'm going to be there this year. Clarissa's coming as well. And I'm excited to do another process like what I experienced.
Yeah. It's not as much of a boot camp, but it's really heart-centered and focused on helping us to step into our identity by releasing and shedding some of the stuff in the past. And this upcoming retreat, which is at the end of February, you can go to www.naturallybraveretreats.com and find out the exact dates and timing. Depending on when you listen to this, it may be in a different year. So, but that's the website. This year is all about relationships. That core relationship with whatever that higher power is for you. It could be Ronald McDonald. It doesn't matter. Whatever that, whatever lights you up, that's that deeper, higher connection. And then there's that relationship with yourself. And then ultimately, how does that play out in our lives? And so we're going to be diving into some cool stuff, and so honored that you're coming, brother. It's going to be that much better because you've had that experience of men's camp, and then it's this building experience. So we implement some fasting, we implement some detox, and amazing food there. The scenery is incredible. There's whales breaching just at the ocean shore on a daily basis. So you're in this paradise location, surrounded by amazing individuals. So,
buddy, I love it. If I hang out long enough with you, I'll vacation all year long and just go to retreats.
There we go. Well, that's the plan, right? I mean, we got to build our life the way that we, see ourselves, our true identity, and maybe just teaching people this experience in an immersive setting, and that's part of. I know it's part of our journey, and I know that that's something that you're going to be delivering to more of your people as well.
Well, and to speak to that real quick, because a lot of these retreats are like a full week off. Everybody who's listening, you can take a week off from your life and dedicate this to yourself. It's a gift, and it's a gift you should give. Treat yourself. Like, this is something, like Nick says, it sets him up for the whole next year when he does these type things. I can literally second that. So, like, take the time. Don't get, there was resistance for me, but don't get overwhelmed. Just take the time off, get it done. Life will be back for you when you get back. But the growth that you will get it's amazing. It's a very, very empowering, and it's life-changing.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, folks. We just highlighted some of our top 5 episodes. That was a beautiful recap. We're going to have to do this a little bit more often maybe than we have, because there's so much amazing information to go into. We've got a couple of really great episodes coming up as well. I'm looking forward to diving into one of your household tools, NIS, and we're going to be speaking to one of your mentors in that field as well.
Yeah, Dr. Jim Bentz will be on. We're going to be talking about something called Neurological Integration System, or Neurolink. Basically, rewiring the circuitry of the brain to help get your body back into health and homeostasis. An amazing therapy. I'm using it now. Dr. Jim is a master. He's been doing it for over 20 years. Really excited for that one. And then we're also bringing on
Cynthia Thurlow. She's one of the experts on intermittent fasting, and she's going to tell us her story about how it's transformed her life. So another powerful testimonial and life experience on this journey that we love to share so much. And lots more coming down the pipeline. So we're honored. Honestly, we're having so much fun with this. We're blessed that who's ever listening and is tuning in, and our hope obviously is that we're creating some impact for you to change habits and health and relationship and mindset and all these different areas. So we're grateful to all of you who are listening.
Very grateful and grateful to you, brother. This is a blast, and excited to see where we go, man. Mm-hmm. We already made the top 20 dad podcasts.
There we
go.
We'll
see where we're at in a year.
Shooting for the stars. Okay, all the best to you guys. Tune in next to the next episode, and please like, share, comment, any way that we can help you and your communities. We're honored to do so. So keep it going, everyone.
All right, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please be sure to subscribe to the Dr. Dads and share with your family and friends. You can also follow and interact with Dr. Nick and Dr. David on Facebook and Instagram for a daily dose of inspiration and the latest in health and wellness. Be well.